Hey Sinfonia Pharmacy Interns, I'm Cherokee, Pharmacy Intern Lead at the Florida Center. I'm a 3PD and I've been with the company since fall of my 1PD year, back when our logo was still red. And throughout all that, I get good grades, I have positions in organizations, I participate in organizations, I go to meetings, I shadow pharmacists, and I work here. So I maintain my sanity throughout all of that, and I'm going to share with you some of my time management tips and tricks to help you be able to be a successful working pharmacy student. First things first, in time management, you have to know what your priorities are. So since most of us are pharmacy students, school is our first priority, so that's classes and study time. And then for me, my second priority is getting to organization meetings, going to events and things like that. And then work comes in third. So after you have your priorities in check, you gotta make a calendar. So the first thing that goes on my calendar is classes and the class time, so I can block out that time. And then second priority for me are organizations, meetings, and events. So first I'll go on the organization calendar to see if what the meetings that I want to go to are on there, or the organizations that I want to go to have events on there, and then I'll put that on my calendar. Sometimes the meeting dates and times are on there and sometimes they're not. And so if they're not, I'll go to the president of the organization of the meetings that I know I want to go to, and I'll ask them if they have preliminary dates for that semester or that month or whatever the case may be. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So third priority is work. So then I'll schedule my hours around all of the classes that I put down, all the meetings I put down. And guess what? If I wasn't able to figure out when some of the organizations were having their meetings, well, at our college, we know that all the meetings are going to happen from 1 to 2. And so if it's really important for me to make sure I have my availability open to go to any meetings and events I'd like to go to, then you just got to block out that time. So I won't work through 1 to 2. I'll work 3 to 7 or something like that. Now I'll share with you some tips and things that kind of come to me by trial and error, but hopefully you won't have to go through that and you'll have a smooth schedule. The first one is never schedule yourself before an IRAD. I know when you have a class at 1:55, it's tempting to look at that 8 to 12 p.m. slot, but don't do it, because guess what? Our number one priority is school, and you want to make sure you give yourself ample time to study and ample time to prepare before classes. So just trust me, don't do it. It also puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself to get to class and study right before. It's just a hassle. But remember, if you give yourself the morning to study, then who's to say that you can't work all the way until the evening time the day before? So you can play around with schedule times and things like that. Another tip is give yourself the weekdays to study. So our center is open on Saturday, so you can definitely schedule yourself on a Saturday. I remember in 1PD year, I worked a lot of Saturdays because the course load was just too much to handle with working during the week. I even knew someone that worked all day on Saturday so that he could study throughout the week. Another tip, if you're gonna schedule yourself to work on a weekend though, you have to be able to commit to that. So I wouldn't suggest working Saturdays in the beginning of the fall semester, because that's when there's a lot of events and things from organizations and fraternities, and you want to make sure you give yourself a chance to attend those things. This also goes with making sure you have the organization's events on your calendar, because then you won't have to worry about double booking yourself if your second priorities, events and things are already on your calendar before you even go to make your work schedule. Another tip is utilizing your skills lab days. So in 1PD year and 2PD year, my skills lab days were the days that I made sure I worked a shift. That's the only guaranteed day and time that we have in our curriculum. So even though some days that means I missed a meeting, I knew that on every Tuesday I worked from 2 to 7. And that was a good chunk of time that I could take away from the time I needed to be at work. Sometimes though, people do like to use their skills lab days for studying. That's what I did this year, and I actually found that that gives me a nice, good, dedicated day and time to study. So utilize your skills lab days the way you see most fit. Also, y'all, give yourself time to study for exams. I don't care how easy you think it's gonna be. Even quizzes, like I said, with IRATs, but exams, don't work the day before. If you do work the day before, make sure it's in the morning time to like mid-afternoon maybe, because you definitely want to keep to your first priority, which is getting good grades and paying attention to school. So load up your hours on the week before or maybe after the day of your exam. That way you don't have to worry about that, but definitely give yourself time for exams. So y'all, part of adulting is keeping your commitments. I don't know if this is going to be some of y'all's first job or what have you, but it's important to be responsible and keep to your commitments. And so, and this is especially important in our field as we are in pharmacy school to be pharmacists. Do you think that making last minute schedule changes or calling out sick while you're a pharmacist is going to fly with your manager? Probably not. So it's easier to kind of cultivate and learn these skills now while we're in school and we're students and we're learning than it is going to be when you go out into the real world and realize that you can't just break commitments as easily as you think you could. So here's a demonstration on my process for making my calendar, kind of like I laid it out to you before. After I put everything on one big calendar, then I can differentiate between my work schedule, give that to them, and then I also put the whole thing and all these events and all these things on my Google Calendar. So that way I can access it from my phone and add events or add meetings as they come up, as I hear them. And that also makes my life a lot easier when I can just pull out my phone and be like, where do I have to be today or tomorrow? And it's right there. So trust me, y'all, these are the tips for time management that I've used from 1 PD year all the way now to 3 PD year, and they have not failed me yet. So hopefully you can use these and realize that it's easy to maintain your sanity as a working pharmacy student if you just keep to your priorities and look at your calendar, and then life will be smooth sailing from there. So I hope this helps you and you can be successful, and yeah.